All right, happy Saturday, all you devils out there. Sam here with you. Oh, it's about 2 o'clock for me here in Austin. So a couple things. Of course, wasn't able to do the video on Friday. I had to visit some family members over the last few days, so I was out of town and unable to do it on Friday. So we'll get it done here, and hopefully this will be worth the wait. Now, we're going to get into a couple of counts here. The Elliott count is really quite challenging, which I've been working at this for a few hours now. Really interesting, but very challenging to count this as an Elliottian. Bitcoin's never easy, but this is really interesting. Now, we're going to dig in fairly deeply here. I'm going to give you a couple of things to consider. I think there still is a bear count we have to consider, but the market, the whole space is so incredibly bullish. We have to reconcile with just the sentiment. Right? Everybody is so bullish, and we don't want to fight the trend, but we want to be strategic in where we're looking for entries. And we'll point out a few things here about where we are and perhaps where the next opportunity is to add. Before we get into all of that, I got to draw your attention to this. So here, as we do every year, we're going to do a Labor Day promo. Now, this is active right now, and this is typically how we'll do it. So these are off of the educational membership. So this is all of the belt system, all the educational content, thus educational. 15 off the monthly, 20 off the 3, 25 off the 6, and then 30 off of the yearly. Do note here that these coupon codes here, when you're checking out, if you were to pursue some of this, coupon code needs to be in all caps. Now, you can find this on our Twitter feed. It'll be very visible. And if you have any questions, of course, we're very, very reachable. Don't hesitate to reach out if you have questions about anything. With that said, we're going to run this. I think we'll run this through Thursday. Oh, pardon me. I think we're going to run it through midnight on Wednesday night. Now, we'll have live streams both on Monday and Tuesday, just to confirm that, despite the traditional markets being closed on Monday. We will run our live stream for alts on a Monday. We'll look at traditionals on Tuesday, and then my partner, Money Crypto, will take over on Wednesday. So it'll be through midnight on Wednesday. These will maintain. And then for those of you that are aware of our indicator business that is tied to NinjaTrader, that has a 20% discount going, and that will maintain as well through Wednesday. You know, this is a good place to, this is what's underneath our videos now. So this link tree, as many people are using now, is a nice little front end here. So this is directly underneath the video. If you want to get to our websites here, if you're interested in what we're doing with NinjaTrader, those indicators for day trading over here on this, a couple of exchanges we have relationships with, Motive Wave, which I'm going to actually show you a account in Motive Wave, and then those of you that are interested in harmonics, and we have quite a number of members that are interested in this. This is, I think, the best value for the dollar. Very powerful. You'll have more harmonics than you know what to do with. And you can click through any of this. So with that said, keep in mind that I would encourage you to explore some of this, particularly Motive Wave. One of the nice things about Motive Wave is you get a 14-day free trial. And the pricing here is, they've got an interesting way that they've broken down the pricing to stay competitive. You really don't need everything, right? Well, I mean, you might like it, and certainly I don't want to discourage you from that, but they've got a number of different editions available to you based on what you're interested in. So some of this might be of interest to you. I would tell you that either just the Elliott Wave Lite would be awfully good, right? If you're an Elliott trader. So a couple of things to think about. So with all that promo done, right? This being the link tree. Reminder here, let's get over to Bitcoin, right? It's not too bad here in terms of promotion. All right, so let me get on with it here. So this is where we've left off, and this continues to be a count we have to recognize that we certainly, despite all this bullish action and breaking 50 as we did, we cannot eliminate this count. I believe me, as I've said many times, I am not a bear. I am not a bear. I've never have been a bear on Bitcoin, but this count I would caution you from ignoring this. This is not to say that I'm not suggesting anyone sell Bitcoin up here, but I would just be cautious about buying here, and I'll show you a couple of reasons why as we go through this. So as we sit here now, and I am in log scale, as duly noted here, we have now, of course, we've broken the golden zone. We just pinged the 707. That's square root of 50. Not uncommon and would not be unreasonable. Now the question remains, are we going to ultimately get a 3 here, perhaps a zigzag here that would bring us over here? I think the reason I think the triangle, which is what we've been implying over the last couple of weeks here, would be something to consider, is because of the guidelines of alternation. So we have, there's complexity to it, but at its simplest, right, this is a 3, and with a very sharp finish. And so guideline of alternation, if we go sideways here and we kind of push out through a little bit more time, rather than just ripping past a 64 to a new all-time high, of course we would deal with the time imbalance here. And I've got a few time markers on here. Just to note a couple of things here. So let's deal with that, and then we'll dig in, and I assure you we'll look at the bull count. I wouldn't want to leave out the bull porn. Okay, so as we sit here, 1, 2, this I think is hard to argue with this being a completed impulse. Now we are going to look at a count that would give you an alternate. But that is a self-contained impulse. I think that remains pretty solid. I think very few Elliotticians would bicker with that. This is really tricky, right? So to put the 4 over here, we are going to look at how we get there. Yeah, I should note here, because a very astute viewer, I can't remember if he's a member or a viewer, but when we were looking at the triangle last week, I had the A down here for the A, B, C, D, and I didn't make the point that because we'd been looking at the potential for this to be a clear 5, right? So if this was going to be 3, 4, 5, right, into an A wave, I had implied that, and I didn't make the distinction of correcting myself in that if this is going to be a triangle, this would have to be relabeled as a 3, which can be done. I don't love it, but it can be done. I mean, certainly the 5 is what is most obvious, right? This is hard to miss, right? But right, if we're going to keep going here, we got to look at how can we solve it down here without a 5. So indeed, if this is what we see, and that remains to be seen, if this is what ultimately evolves here, and we push over a little bit towards the end of the year, and we're going to go sideways here, this has to be a 3. This has to be a 3, 3, 3, 3. It has to be 3s all the way through, and we'll get to that count here shortly. Just a couple of quick things to note here. I've got the fib time on here just for sort of mile markers here, and just to show you what they are. So this is 200% the length of the 1. So the 3 getting beyond 200% the length of the 1, keeps this as a good candidate for a 3. Now I do have here, I have a couple of fib times. Now, right now I'm working off of the pivot here that we broke 50. If we were going to do some fib time here, this would be right there. This would be 100% the length of the proposed A. If this were to finish as a zigzag, so you take the length of the A, project from the B, and even still, if it's a triangle, that might be a point of note here. It's just before, well, that would be sort of middle of November. So you might get A, B, maybe that's C, D, E. Yeah, we'll see. Always challenging to be predicting a triangle when you don't even have a hard B in yet. But it would make sense from an LA perspective. And then I've got as well the projection from here from what is currently the proposed B. Well, here would be 100, 1618. So you get a pretty good cluster, right? Well, here you can see I've noted it here from this, right? I'm just drawing it off to the right. All of this here is toward the end of the year. This would be the earliest, mid-November, and then we go right into the end of the year, and then pushing out to the 1618 would be middle of January. Just don't ignore this count. All right? There's a lot of things here that suggest that we can still go off to all-time highs, and we can still go to 100K, 200K, 500K, pick your number. And resolve here is just, it's unusual, let's say it that way. So now I'm going to circle back to this count, and when I do that here, I'm going to hide all this, because I'm going to show you an alternate here that will, for the mega bulls, of which I remain a mega bull. All right, so don't let my analysis here influence your opinion about where I think Bitcoin's going. I think this is Well, at some point, this will be just a distant memory as we go towards 6 figures. But that said, now I'm going to circle back here. So with this sort of basic count here, sitting here and we've looked at this many times here. So now we've hit the 707. If we were to come back and work towards this median line here, this is a shift pitchfork. If we work towards this, here's the zone of support here. Here's the 3823. So this is all still something to at least keep it somewhere, just so you're not taken off guard. Right, okay, so with that, all that said, let me get over here and let's look at a couple of alternates here, because if indeed, and this would be something you would apply, if this is the 4, or if the 4 comes over here, and this is kind of a segue into what I was just saying, if it does end up being a triangle, then this is how we'd have to count the 3. All right, so we'd have to go, I remain of the thinking that this is 1, 2 rather than A, B. It finishes better, even though we do have to truncate here because I think you can lean into that because this being all wick and essentially this being a double bottom. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think that plays much better than trying to do it this way as A, B, and then trying to work a C down here. Just because you'd have to do that, you'd have to do it this way. You'd have to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just look at that, right? I'm out of log now here. So you look at that 2 to that 4, just the length of time, the proportion, it just doesn't look right, right? JDLR just does not look right. So the only way I think that well, pardon me, not the only way, but I think the way that would make sense, we would come down here as a 5. We have to truncate here. And part of that is because of this very pronounced 3 here. So if looking at all of our alternatives here, I do, there's likely a triangle into that 4. Down for the 5. Granted, right, you go to a truncation at last resort, but I think that's the best fit here because of what comes off of it. So the 3 here gives us the B, and then we roll down into a C. So it's obviously a much shorter C relative to the A, but it's not outside of rules and guidelines. It's a little unusual, right? We can certainly say that. If the 4 is in here, this is unusual, right? Very few assets could do that and then rip in. Well, we'll see how this finishes here, right? So this, I leave the 4 kind of floating here. This certainly could be, right? Most of the space, right? Most of the sentiment seems to be very sure that the 4 is in. The on-chain metrics continue to be bullish. So if we're going to keep going, we don't want to fight that. So we don't want to be sitting here going, God damn it, the 4 is going to come. I know it's coming down. We want to be stubborn about that. But again, it's just JDLR. It just doesn't look right. So we'll see, right? So I kind of leave it floating here. I'll be quick to go here if we keep rolling. We'll lock it in, and here's an alternate of how we can get there. So with that said, what am I on, a 4 hour? Oh, maybe we'll go to a 3 here. We see this a little bit better. All right. If that's the 4, well, how do we come out of this? If that's the 4, well, this gets a little tricky down here. So it looks to me like per rules and guidelines. Well, here, let me. Oh, I guess you can see the framing here as we've had a few little pushes outside of the framing of the way I've drawn the median lines here. I think that makes the point here. We do have some geometry here that potentially could be framing the market. So let's hide that. Pull this off. I've got a lot of things on here. Well, so the first thing you look at here that seems to be right in your face is look how good the Vegas wave is as support all the way up. Once we broke through here and then we flipped, right, so the 233 goes underneath, awfully good support. Right, I try to remind people, don't go eye blind to that. So that's interesting. So if this is this section here, this is the cluster. This is really tough, right? How do you really resolve all of this? Very, very tricky here, and we're doing our best to get the count that plays per rules and guidelines. And the big problem is the way it starts. So right off the bat, you've got a 3. Well, you could do it a couple of different ways. You could look at it this way and say, either way, I can't get an impulse in here, right? Whether you're doing it that way or variations of that, you can't get an impulse out of the chute, right? You can get one right here. But because of all the structure that comes after that, you'd have to go 1, A, expand the B into a C to give you an A. And looks like this fits best as a triangle into the B, because I mean, it's really all you've got to work with here. You got to go A, B, C, D, E, right? Play these each as threes, and then finishing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which we'd looked at in a couple of scenarios here. The only way to finish this is with that ending diagonal, gets us to the C. So per that correction here, it would be A, B, C, right? Gets it done. 1. So per that, we'd go 1, A, triangle B, ending diagonal C. That gives us our 2 here. So 1, 2. Well, we looked at a couple of scenarios here where this went into an impulse, but it doesn't quite work. So you can see the thinking might be here. You might think, oh, 1, boy, I got a really skinny 2, 3, 4, 5, but it plays better, I think, right? My view here, and I'm no doubt there are going to be multiple counts here. We'd go into a 3, 4, 5. Now, obviously, the 2 is unusual. But really, we're just going sideways, right? There's no sense of trend. We're in a box, right? You can do it this way. We're just in this box. We're not progressing. We're not putting in new lows. We just go sideways. So sideways and then very sharp for the 4. You know, you're on the fringe here of what looks right and what doesn't. But based on what's coming off of this, I think you have to connect those two because the finish just doesn't play as well here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. So despite the irregular shaping of in the time relationship of 2 to 4, I don't see a better fit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so right off the bat, you're thinking, okay, there comes a 3 into the 2. Well, you would have liked something bigger here, but we don't get it. It appears to me, let me wick this off here. It appears to me that what we end up with is this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, where each leg is contracting, right? And we looked at that last Friday it was, to where the length of the 3 shorter than the 1, the length of the 5 shorter than the 3. So while it's not a diagonal, you can see the loss of momentum. Now, if I look below, I think I have it here. Yeah, if I look at below it, this is the RSI, just in a histogram version. It's just clearly, right, we can see that fall off of momentum. Now, that doesn't mean we can't kick and rip higher, but with regards to the Elliott perspective, yeah, well, again, we don't want to ignore this. Doesn't mean we have to come down and test these lows again, but the count here. Interesting. So this looks, I think this plays better as a 3. This plays, well, clearly at this moment in time, it's a 3. Now, if this is going to, oh God, never the first click. If this is going to kick up here, well, we'd have to think diagonal, because if that's the 1 and we're going to do it ABC into the 1, well, we've already overlapped. Right now, I hold the B. Now, obviously, it should have occurred to you, and I'm sure, well, of course, all members have done this. I'd like to think all subs have done this as well. When we come out of log scale, put this down, right? What did we just do? Right? We just tagged the golden zone. So out of log from the swing high to the swing low here, tick to tick, there's 618. And that is to the tick. So, again, right? So, I mean, throughout this entire move, the only thing really I've been encouraging you guys to consider is that whether see the reaction at the 50 and then the reaction at the golden zone. So we know algorithms are responding here, which it's the reaction we're looking for. And throughout all of it, my point has been higher risk to be a buyer here. You know, maybe some shorter term stuff, but to take a big swing at it here on the anticipation that we're just going to keep grinding higher, certainly it's possible. But I think that the risk just is too high. So I have not been adding along the way. Now, of course, I own a lot of Bitcoin, so I'm not disappointed to see this continue to grind higher. But in terms of where's the next opportunity to take a big bite and swallow, is just we're not there yet. So if this is going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, well, what did we just do there? If this is the 4, well, we're now just looking for a 2. So just pulling that up. Let's get. We got the platinum on there, so let me get for the 2 here. So this would be an area you'd be looking for here. Now I've just wicked off some of the structure here that's tied into that low volume node over here. So if we do come down for whatever reason, I mean, it could be just the algo reaction, could be, yeah, I mean, there's all sorts of reasons why we could come down here. So whales might want to spook the market. You don't know. It almost doesn't matter why, right? So we just want to respond to it. So if this is going to be an expanded B wave and we start to come down here and we do it in a 5, then I think you can lean into the idea that, okay, I have a fairly good idea of where I am. Now, the structure here already, the C to the A, you know, you'd probably be pushing 2618 there. Let's take a measure of it. If that's the A, that's the B. Well, the 50 would put you right here at the 2618. You probably pull this structure over. I wouldn't ignore that B wave. So now you'd be coming down here right on the edge of this high volume node. So if we were to come down here, now that's a pretty good kick, right, for the C relative to the A. So you don't necessarily need to sit down here and wait for it to get there. If we get a 5 and it's more shallow, well, that would still, I think, have us looking at a better place to be a buyer, right? Where you could stay and hold. So something like this would be a little bit more consistent with the swing relationships you might anticipate. We'd come into the structure and then we could kind of do it this way. I still want to get that B in there. So maybe we do it this way. Well, now we're looking at the probably, just beyond the 38. At the 38. Right, so certainly it wouldn't be uncommon for Bitcoin to have an unusual 2, right? So if this is 1, 2, let me fully label it. So this would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's get that down to a, what do we want to use here? Let's use, we'll use minuet. Let's put it in a different color. We'll go to, we'll stay in white. Okay, so if that's the 1 and we're seeking the 2 here, even here, right, just a better place to be a buyer. Let's get a decent retracement. This is the deepest retracement we've had since our test down here at 30K. That's it right there. Right? So and if that's the 1, 2 right there, right, you just made the 38 and the Vegas wave. So right, another 38. Certainly you could see it. Right, so obviously, right, Bitcoin doesn't always push to the 50 of the golden zone or deeper. Although interesting, like so we have a 38 here, but the 1, 2 here, that's about as deep as you can go. I mean, you're pushing the 90 there. So we see extremes in Bitcoin. So we get almost the overlap here, and then we get a 38. Perhaps a 38 here. Now, we don't have this yet, and we don't know that this isn't going to keep ripping and blow through the golden zone. There's nothing, you're just, at this moment in time, that looks like a 3, and that looks like a 3. Now, what comes next? If this keeps kicking, all right, well then, because that's a 3, now that would be an incredibly, if this count holds, if this is going to be the 1, that would be an unusually shallow 2, and the length of time would be suspect, right? Again, just doesn't look right. But this, right, I'd be much more comfortable myself buying as well as encouraging others to buy down here. At least we'd come back. We got all sorts of structure here. We got a massive high volume node here, just a big wall, right? Just all, right, we understand why, right? It's not too hard to figure that out. So this being some pretty solid support. If we come back down here. So this all along, it's just really all I've been saying. Let's get a decent retracement. Let's get to some structure. Here, now, I'm much happier buying here at 40 than I am buying it at 51 as we bang into the golden zone. I think that's a reckless buy, in my opinion. I wouldn't. I'm not going to. I wouldn't buy that. There's absolutely nothing that could happen here that would have me go, oh, shit, I'm going to buy it now. Nothing, right? So I'm a retracement trader. So that means you're going to miss some action, right? So I missed that push. You're going to miss some. It's all about, right, where are you comfortable? For me, I would be incredibly uncomfortable. I just would never do it. I just wouldn't buy that, ever, under any circumstance. Would never buy at a golden zone. It's foolish. Now, by all means, I am not saying that couldn't just rip right through it. Just not where I think it's a strategic place to be adding to your long-term positions. I think there's way too many other well, whether it's Ethereum or cross spreads, ETH to Bitcoin looks interesting. There's just so many other trades that you might take where you wouldn't be just buying into what I would tell you would be a dangerous spot to be taking an aggressive long position. So, all right, I think we dwelled on that long enough here. This is an unusual count. Now, the other thing you could do here, which is, let's see, let's do it this way here. I've got to get these guys out of here. All right, again, note how good that Vegas wave is. But a regression channel is not a bad idea here. Swing low to swing. Well, here's your swing high. If we break that, all right, market's talking to you. Right now, we're nicely contained within 2 standard deviations. Right, here's our mean as we sit right here. There is there's the median lines that we looked at here that had us right on the edge with a few little pops over. Certainly, you'd want to see a push down here to. This is what I'm after, right? Give me this, right? And then I'm really getting interested, right? There's all sorts of structure here. And then I'm more comfortable here saying, okay, well, that's shallow, but I could easily buy here, and I'd be buying there prepared to buy, to ladder in. If it's going to go deeper, I mean, it's right, hard not to see this as substantially some solid structure. If we were to go golden zone to golden zone, which you see all the time down here at these smaller degrees, if we were to do that, I'd be prepared to buy 30, 50, and 618. And then look for this to continue. And I think that's not an unreasonable approach to take. Now, if you don't buy all of it at the 38 and it rips, okay, you leave some on the table. But if it comes out of here, right, and all of a sudden we get a 5, right, we're down to a 60 or a 30, and you're looking for the 2, right, to get into the 3, and off we go. I mean, if some of that is just personal preference, right, and your risk tolerance and how aggressively you want to trade the market. But if you're a buyer here, again, I just think that's foolish. Okay, so I think we've worked this count through to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to give us that 1. I haven't missed a wave here, have I? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 gives us the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 gives us the secondary 1. Okay, yeah, we're clean. Just double checking. I didn't miss a degree, but we didn't. Well, that's why I wanted to put that in a different color. Oh, here, we'll put it in pink. 1, 2. Love it down here. Love it at 40. And then even if it played into the triangle, right? If it ends up being our B, and we go C, D, E, you're not going to get hurt, right? Well, I mean, you want to have a stop on it, right? Particularly if you're using leverage. But if we go sideways, right, through the fourth quarter, nobody thinks that's going to happen. But if we were to go sideways, you wouldn't be hurting yourself by looking to be strategic about those entries here a little bit lower. Now, again, if this goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we're up here, well, we'll probably have to reconsider this count in terms of its current labeling. But as it is right now, I just don't think there's any need to rush into the market, right? I know, right? FOMO's, I feel it, just like everybody does. I've been doing this long enough that I know that I don't do it anymore. All right, let me give you an alternate here into this count here that would be consistent with the 3 down here, and give us an alternate that might play into this. And I'm going to use Motive Wave to do this because I use one of the nice things about, I think I have to do it this way so you can see it. It's different framing to what I've got in Trading View. Okay, so shit, I don't want that because I know that is annoying. Oh, give me here. I want that. I guess I don't want that. There we go. Okay, so we'll go back to the 3, the larger 3 here we see, and then here's the same thing, right? So I just use fib time here, so just so I knew that the 3 was at least twice the length of the 1, right? Now I'm in semi-log here, slightly different than full log, so slight variation in the way Motive Wave does it and with the way Trading View does it. But that's the option we have here in Motive Wave. So 1, 2, 3. There's your triangle for A, B, C, right? So there it is, just laid out for you with the framing of the triangle. Well, this, I think, in my view, this plays better. I prefer this count here. If this would get you into the triangle or the C here. So there's the A. Now this 3 here can be interpreted as a W. So we could go W, then we could go into the X. Why is that acting weird? What? Get you back there. Then we'd go A, B, C. Now this would be finishing as an ending diagonal with the extension in the 1. That's a good, decent candidate here for the B, and there's potential for this to kick a little bit higher. If the B is going to be 100% the length of the A in the way this is counted, we could go A, B, and the B could go all the way up here to the 100%. That wouldn't be out of bounds, except and this is one of the nice features about motive wave here. If your labeling is going to break rules or guidelines here, it's going to tell you about that. So you'd have to relabel this, because at that point 3 would be the shortest wave. So if this is 1, 2, well, then you might have to dig in here at a different degree, and perhaps we go a little bit higher. So if it's going to go higher, then the ABC of the diagonal, if it's going to stay as a diagonal, the 3 would have to be here, the 4 would have to come down and overlap that 1, then you push up for the 5. But we don't have that yet. So right now, as it sits, the fact that we're at the golden zone here, as we just looked at, if I bring this back down here, bring back right now, this can play. Right, so we have the ending diagonal there. We have the proposed, so it would be W, X, A, B, C into the Y to give us the B. Now C or D, E in the triangle plays just as well. Right, I mean, these are some of the really powerful features of motive wave, and particularly for if you're applying Elliott wave. If you make a mistake or you get, oh, could that be the W? Or it'll tell you if you got it wrong, if you broke a rule or guideline. Very, very, very powerful. And this just is a lot of efficiency here. So it's easy to draw things and just say, all right, show me the impulse, and it'll do it for you. Now, I don't always agree with what the algorithms within motive wave are going to spit out, but it's a good starting point. So it's just about efficiency and use of time. So if you're doing a lot of analysis, there's all sorts of scanning you can do in here. Terrific product. I think I've owned it for 2009. I've owned this for a long time. And the only reason I didn't start using this with Trade Devils when I started the company was because at that time, motive wave didn't have crypto. Well, they certainly do now. As you can see here, I'm looking at a Bitstamp. But when I started, and that's, I think, why TradingView grew so quickly, is because they were the ones that were giving you all of these kind of tools in crypto. So as we come back here to TradingView, let me finish here. I'm at 32 minutes. Let me finish here with the bull porn. All right, so what's interesting about this, let's see. Where's my daily? I think it's over here. Pardon me. Okay, so what's the alternate here that could be staring us right in the face? I'm going to push this over. I'm going to push this over. Okay, the 1, 2, I don't think we need to... Well, as it sits right now, I don't think we have to look at an alternative here with regards to the 1, 2, and I don't think we have to consider an alternative with this being a completed impulse. But having done all of that, I'm going to just break some of this. Let's see if I can break some of this down here. I'm going to hide this. Now, let me get this out of here. Now, as we've looked here at the longer-term view of Bitcoin out here on the daily, we've done the whole thing in log scale because of the range, right? We're going from 3,000 to 64,000, right? So it's not surprising that you, as a technician, you'd want to consider looking at it in log. And often you'll be able to see the separation in waves just better here, but I think now, looking at this, you have to consider the alternate, because if we're going to keep ripping here, this count, again, just doesn't look right. So what would be the most obvious thing you could do here? Pop it out of log. Now, if we pop it out of log and then we think about where this has gone, and I have no doubt here. In fact, I've seen many of our YouTube subs, those that comment, suggesting this, and I mean, it's just staring you right in the face. So because of the depth of the retracement, and with the market, I should say the market, just the space, right? People that are trading in here that know the space, that really do great analysis of the on-chain metrics. if we're going to rip and take this out, and this is going to be our low, I just don't like it as a 4, right? It just as an Elliottician, I just don't like it. It just doesn't look right. So what's the alternative? Well, if you're a bull, you're going to like this count. All right, those would have to go so much higher. Let's put those. Here, we'll put them in yellow so we can spot them. And let's take that up. Oh, well, leave it in minuet. No, let's see here. Let's do it this way. Pardon me. We'll go to 1. You'd still have to get there, right? You'd still have that ABC to get you here. So it has to be A, B, C to get you here. But if this is going to go, I'm just going to simplify here, right? Rather than go into all that detail. If we're going to go 8, 1, 2, and we're just going to keep kicking here, and we're going to do this, well, what are we doing here? If this is the 1, 2, this is going to be the 1 of the 3. Now we're talking way over 100, way over 100. 1, 2, all of this, just the 1 always wrestling with the trend change that comes from this big sell-off. 1, 2, 3, 4. Here we come for the 1, potentially for the 5 of the 1. So 1, 2. So this all goes way, way, way up. Well, you can just look at here, right? Out of log, right? So that's got to go. You can't. We're 3, 5. Keep going. 1, 2. I think even here, it's so deep here. Oh, I'd be putting runners on this. So I'd get out to the, let's go to the 2. Let's put that in blue here. All right, so I'd be up here. So now if you're thinking here, that would put us at April of 22. If we're going 1, 2, 3 here to an upper parallel here, maybe 4 back to the median line, 5, 2, 6, 1, 8 to give you the 3, 170 grand, 4, 5. So all we're trying to do here now is complete the 1 wave as we wrestle with this as the 2 and come out of here 3, 4, and we go. So the target for the 3, 127, 128, 128-ish here. This strikes me as less likely, but if we're just going to keep rolling, I don't want to be unprepared for it. So all the more, though, if I push that off to the side, where's the next place to be an aggressive buyer, right? If it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we're still going to need that retrace, right, to get into the 3. I still think that's your safer way to do it, right? It's just, if I hadn't been doing this for 30 years, I wouldn't say that. Again, I'm as big a bull as anyone, so don't misunderstand what I'm saying. I would absolutely not be selling any Bitcoin. I would not be shorting any Bitcoin. I don't care that we just ran into the golden zone. The trend is way too strong here. I don't want to be fighting that trend. But right now, if that's going to keep rolling and we're going to push and we're after this, we're going from 50 to 60 and we're going to push, right? So all we have to do is get close, and there will be such a massive whales will want to go get the stops that will be up there, right? And those will have been there for a while because that will be fuel to make that kick, and that could be the kick in your 5. And then after all those stops are run, you can just see again, if you could, you would. Then you'd bring it down. So all the latecomers, right? By that time, when we're breaking all-time highs, and it's all over media. Oh, Bitcoin breaking to all-time highs, right? So the public comes rushing in. There comes the 3, and you set up for the. Pardon me, there comes the 3 into the 2, and we've got 1, 2, and then there's the still potentially puts you right to where we're suggesting the count is. And you still be buying in the 40 to 50K range. Looking for that, and there's your money wave into the 3. All right, there's 40 minutes. That's probably a good enough update here. So with all of that said, I think that gives us a couple of different alternates here. We're prepared to deal with this if it keeps going. If indeed the pivot is in for the B as we run into the golden zone in arithmetic and we start to retrace, we're prepared for that. And if this is going to keep rolling and it's a 1, 2, well, there's your bull porn. All right, guys, with that, I'll just remind you that this will run through midnight Wednesday night. These are pretty good savings here, right? That's meaningful savings on any of that. Again, 20% on the indicators if you're trading in the futures market with Ninja. Keep that in mind. And then if you're interested in Motivway, go ahead. I'd encourage you to do the 14-day trial. That's a pretty generous trial. To give you 14 days of their ultimate package here, we can start to play with it, and I think you'll appreciate the what it can do for you here in terms of the efficiency of your analysis. Right? Belt system, all the educational. Of course, that gets you access to everything that we're doing. All right, and just a reminder, we'll be live streaming on Monday. We start about 9:30. Members post their alts, and then we'll take suggestions from anyone who's participating who is interested in having a look at things any things that are on their watch list. All right, guys. So with that, I wish you a good weekend, and we'll be back on Monday. All right, guys, take it easy.